rubber in the model room welcomes all. Thanks for stopping by, answering the call. Ups and downs are normal for some of us. Many days I beg to get off this life bus. Neon lights flicker, my shadow on the wall. Dreams on the ceiling, we run and then we fall. Sharing stories over paper cups. Wheels keep turning but never enough. Life's a ride on a rickety old track. Holding on tight, never looking back. In the rubber and model room we confide. Laugh, cry, love in this crazy ride. Dusty postcards from the edge of nowhere. Heartbeats echo in the electric air. We dance on tables without to wait. Cry in the rubber and model room, we're all high.
Add me to the stage. Well, hello. Hello. Guess what? Welcome in. Welcome in. No makeup. Yep. It's going to be one of those days. You know what? Look, my glasses are dirty. Hi. Hi. Okay. Y'all want to talk about a moment of not being prepared? Hi, guys. That's me today. Actually, I was standing in the kitchen making smothered pork chops and Brussels sprouts in the air fryer. So you get rubber with no makeup today. And I need to stop and tell Hio, look, see, even my hair's kind of all over the place. I had to stop and tell Hio, thank you, because I thought it was 2:00. See what happens? My life is like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Actually, y'all, I have been sitting watching the Colt Gray hearing. It's been on my big TV all morning long. So my world, yes, thank you. Thank you. This is what we need. Raw rubber. Okay. This is me on the look. Is that wrinkles? No, it's a new yeah, it does have a few wrinkles. It's a new shirt. I just went and pulled it because this is not how I was dressed 3 minutes ago. Y'all, I hit that live button, and while it was playing my intro, okay, look, this is comedy off the fly here. This is so not where I was going with this stream. Y'all know I don't do this, but I hit the intro button and I ran to the closet to fucking change my shirt. Okay, so therefore, raw rubber. Anyways, let me thank everybody for being here. Cindy, first in the house there, and Southern, good morning. I'll run over there and pin that, Cindy. Thank you for popping that up. And Denise, put me on the big screen because, even rubber raw on the big screen is cool. And there's my girl that texted me and said, huh? Where you at? Oh, anyways, thank you all for being here. Let's roll my little thingy because I've got some shit to tell y'all. I've got some stories. I've got some stuff going. I have found some stuff that is going to just make you kind of think twice about this trial and think, where are we going?
Get ready for the ride. Buckle up tight. Grab your snacks and enjoy the show.
Hey, Abraham, I seen you on a panel the other day. You were doing a pretty damn good job up there too. Just wanted to say hi, sweetie. You're working, so phone is it. All right. So y'all know we're talking Lindsay Clancy. Today the trial is off. So y'all, I didn't write nothing down. I don't have nothing that I can read off of. This is totally off the fly here. So we've been talking Lindsay Clancy and how we're looking at this postpartum psychosis versus murder. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if y'all are all aware, but there is a story that happened a few years back that was very similar. I don't remember it. Didn't remember it at all. But first, we're going to watch something that Tony Bruschi put out, and I wanted to watch this with y'all. Let's see, where is it? Let me find it. There we go. Okay. He put this out 5 hours ago. So if you haven't, be sure I am subbed up. Hit the like button. I will drop this link in chat. This is Lindsay Clancy waited how long for a doctor? And I kind of found this interesting. So I'm going to hit play. While I hit play, I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to go grab my coffee because it's not made, because I got some other pork chops on the stove going. So we're going to listen to this. I have my TV turned way up, so I will hear everything.
The Commonwealth, prosecutors have to prove beyond a reasonable, isn't a technicality.
I love his voice. This man's voice, spot on. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to run and get my coffee over there in the kitchen, turn the smothered pork chops off, and listen while I grab all that. So let's do this, and let's throw the chat on stage, and y'all listen in. I'll be back to pause in just a second.
And it isn't a defense lawyer giving you a talking point. In Massachusetts, when a defendant raises lack of criminal responsibility, the burden doesn't move to her. It stays with the Commonwealth. Prosecutors have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was criminally responsible on the day her 3 children died. Not that she did it. Nobody is arguing that. Her own attorney told the court the circumstances of what happened aren't in dispute. The state has to prove her mind was working well enough to be held to account for it, and it has to prove that to the same standard it would need for a fingerprint or a confession. 12 women and 6 men are seated in Plymouth Superior Court. Judge William Sullivan has told them this could run 2 months. So when Plymouth County Assistant District Attorney Shannon Buckingham stood up to give the state's opening statement, she wasn't decorating a story.
Y'all know I come running. I come running. I come running. I heard that because I did listen to part of this. He said 2 months. Okay, if we have a 2-month trial, we're here for a 2-month trial. I can do this. I can do this. Okay. Pause for content talk, and away we go. Carry on, Tony. Hannah made it. Hannah Banana, I love you, baby.
The jury already half believed. She was starting from behind, carrying a burden most people follow. Most people that are following this trial don't know that she's actually carrying. 3 weeks before her children died, Lindsay Clancy drove herself to a psychiatric hospital on New Year's Eve and checked herself in. According to the malpractice complaint later filed against her providers, she was not seen by a doctor for 3 days. She was discharged after 5 with no indication from the hospital that she was a danger to anyone. And what she built all of it on was a clock. A phone call that lasted 14 seconds is going to do the enormous amount of work in this case that the prosecution needs it to do to prove she's this evil person who is plotting. Or will it? Or will that 14-second call really not do a whole hell of a lot? There's an appointment on Lindsay Clancy's calendar the day before her children died that never came up in the state's opening at all. She sat with her psychiatrist on January 23rd of 2023. According to the civil litigation, the note from that visit records no change in her mood and quotes her saying she was desperate for something that...
Okay, I'm rushing to get back. I'm rushing to get back because, look, okay, That's important. I felt that was important when I started listening to him, because y'all know I usually don't listen to things when we react raw, but with this trial, it's been a little bit different. So we're going to back that up. Okay. I want y'all to re-listen to what he said.
Or will it? Or will that 14-second call really not do a whole hell of a lot? There's an appointment on Lindsay Clancy's calendar the day before her children died that never came up in the state's opening at all. She sat with her psychiatrist on January 23rd of 2023. According to the civil litigation, the note from that visit records no change in her mood and quotes her saying she was desperate for something that would work quickly.
If you've ever been at a point where you need help and you need it right now, that was a key word to me. When I heard this story, I thought, well, hello. She was reaching out. In my opinion, we may all have different opinions on this trial. Yes, there are 3 beautiful lives that were taken. I understand that. But still, is it postpartum psychosis versus murder? This is what we're talking about. Let me hit play because I found that a very important part to make sure everyone hears. So the day before, she was reaching out
to get her out of the state that she was in. Desperate. 24 hours out. The state's opening doesn't go anywhere near it because they can't go anywhere near it. Because it would completely destroy their whole theory. And there's something about what a not guilty verdict actually does here that the jury may not fully understand yet. Something the Commonwealth has every reason to leave alone. This is where the state plants its flag.
Go to 3V, and he's going to stop just at CVS on the way there. That's when the clock starts, ladies and gentlemen. The defendant knows that Patrick has to stop at CVS, go to 3V. She knows that it's about 5 miles from their house to get to the restaurant. She knows approximately how much time she has for him to go there and come back.
That's it. That's the story of premeditation. She knew roughly how long a CVS run takes. Buckingham told the jury the clock started when Patrick Clancy walked out the door for takeout 5 miles to the restaurant. A stop on the way for a children's laxative the pediatrician had recommended that morning for a 5-year-old with a stomachache. The state's argument is that a woman who could estimate that errand was a woman in full possession of herself. The claim underneath it is also worth saying plainly because the state never says it plainly. The claim is that organization proves sanity, that a mind coming apart can't also keep time. That isn't what the clinical literature says. In fact, it's actually close to the reverse. Postpartum psychosis shows up in roughly 1 in 2 births per 1,000. The depressive subtype is the most common of the 3, about 41% of the cases in the research. It's also the most dangerous. Clinical sources put the rate of harm to a child in that subtype near 4.5%. Command hallucinations are a documented feature of the illness, not a story assembled afterwards by a defense team. So are delusions of control, the experience of acting under an outside force. One study of postpartum bipolar psychiatric patients found symptoms of that kind in 62% of them. None of that describes somebody who can't function. It describes somebody whose reality has been rewritten while the machinery keeps running on schedule. Which brings us back to the phone call. Patrick.
Again, that's your reality isn't there. When you are desperate for help, reality isn't a thing. In my opinion, by my experiences, when you are desperate for help, reality isn't a thing.
Called from CVS. She missed it. She called back and they talked for 14 seconds. Buckingham told the jury that nothing she said in that call concerned him. 14 seconds. That's the Commonwealth's evidence of a sound mind. It's also about how long it takes to tell your husband you're fine when 4 months of professionals have been telling him you're improving. Here's the sentence the whole case is being built on.
Not a woman in the throes of psychosis on January 24th, 2023. This was a woman who acted intentionally, rationally, and swiftly to accomplish a very specific goal: to kill.
Not a woman in the throes of psychosis, intentionally, rationally, and swiftly. The state needs the jury to hear those phrases as the opposite of insanity. In Massachusetts, they aren't.
Oh, hey, guys. I forgot I left my camera. We got one eyebrow. Okay, we're doing our makeup. Hey, it ended up being a get ready with me. Who knew? Who knew? I'm gonna turn my camera off. You know what? Fuck it. It's what is today? I don't even know. It's Tuesday. Hi. Well, here we're gonna do this with one eyebrow. Ready? Hi. Hold up. Wait. Y'all, I told y'all. I've lost my shit today. Hold up. Hi. With my one eyebrow and half makeup. Welcome to Rubber Ramada Room. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy the show, please hit the thumbs up. We put a little comedy in the chaos, and right now I forgot my camera was on while I'm putting my makeup on in a really quick fashion because it's been a day. Hi. All right. Back to the show. Oh my God, y'all.
Comes out of a 1967 decision, Commonwealth versus McHole, which adopted the modal penal code language. A person is not criminally responsible if, as a result of mental disease or defect, they lack substantial capacity to do one of two things: either appreciate the criminality or wrongfulness of their conduct, or conform their conduct to the requirements of the law. Either, not both. That one word is the case. A juror can sit through every hour of the state's evidence and believe all of it. They can conclude that Lindsay Clancy understood exactly what she was doing and understood that it was wrong. They would still be required to find her not criminally responsible if the Commonwealth can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she had the capacity to stop. A voice issuing commands doesn't really go to whether you know right from wrong. It goes to whether you can conform your conduct. That's the second door. And the state has to close both of them beyond a reasonable doubt. There's a case that gets reached for here, and it usually gets used backwards. Andrea Yates was a registered nurse in 2021. She killed her 5 children in the family home.
Hello. I think we brought her up yesterday, guys. Didn't we bring her up yesterday, guys? Thank you. Hello, Tony. Thank you for acknowledging that I kind of, a little history.
They called police and told them, she called police and told them what she'd done. Organized from beginning to end. Her first jury convicted her. That conviction was overturned after a prosecution expert admitted he had given false testimony, and on retrial, a second jury found her not guilty by reason of insanity.
Which means
she was committed to a state psychiatric hospital, and she has been in one ever since, waiving her release hearings year after year.
Waiving her release hearings. Do you hear that? Waiving her release hearings. What are you texting me? No what? Waiving her release hearings. Yo, shut up. Told you I wasn't ready. I was going to reschedule, but I figured, fuck it, we're just going to go with it. Okay. Anyway, so she waived her release hearings. So she's not going to get out. So obviously, no difference here. I really think, in my opinion, we know she did the crime. Okay. So her crime, the time that I think that she will be spending with her crime should be in a mental hospital. I told you, I was not prepared.
Now, the part that matters in Plymouth County, Texas asks a single question, which is whether the defendant knew the conduct was wrong. That is the narrower, harder question. And Yates cleared it anyway. Massachusetts gives Lindsay Clancy a second door Texas never opened for Andrea Yates. This is where the state goes after her medical record. Take a look.
Chose to deal with her mental health issues in the worst way. She chose to manipulate her providers, seek out the quick and easy fix when she was feeling depressed and anxious. And when she didn't get what she expected, she chose an alternate route. She sought a different doctor. She changed medications after days. She disengaged from treatment when she didn't like the plan. After only 4 months in treatment, she made a choice, a deliberate and intentional decision that she did not want to try anymore.
She manipulated her providers. She sought a different doctor. She changed her medications after days. She disengaged from treatment when she didn't like the plan. Every one of those describes something that actually happened, and every one of them shows up in the civil complaints as a failure by somebody other than Lindsay Clancy. She sought a different doctor. According to the lawsuits filed against her providers, she went to Women and Infants Hospital in Rhode Island and was told that their day program wasn't appropriate for her. A doctor there agreed she should come off an antipsychotic she had been prescribed. The hospital reached out to a nurse at South Shore Health who had also been prescribing for her, and the complaint alleges that outreach was actually never returned. She changed medications after days. Her attorney says she was prescribed 13 different psychiatric medications between October of 2022 and January 23. Among them, Klonopin, Valium, Prozac, Zoloft, and Ativan. Her husband told police she was taking as many as 4 a day and that she took them exactly as prescribed. The complaints describe polypharmacy across multiple prescribers, meaning no single doctor held the full picture of what she was on. She disengaged from treatment. On New Year's Eve of 2022, she checked herself into McLean Hospital, and the lawsuit alleges she wasn't seen by a doctor for 3 days.
Okay. But in her defense, hi, welcome in. In her defense, if she went in on a Saturday and they said that Monday was a holiday, she's not going to be seen like to a point of she'll see, more than likely you'll see nurses, you'll see sub doctors, but you're not going to see your main doctor that's going to be your treating physician, especially if you go in over a weekend. It's really hard. Yeah.
Asked to be discharged in time for her daughter's 5th birthday. Prosecutors have pointed out that the hospital released her without indicating she was a danger to anyone. The complaint says the hallucinations returned within a week. She wanted a quick and easy fix. Patrick Clancy went to her doctors himself and told them they were turning her into a zombie. He's since filed his own complaint for malpractice and wrongful death, arguing his children might still be alive if their mother had received adequate.
Okay, stop. Did you just hear what this man just said? So this is where the civil suit comes in at, okay? This is where that civil suit comes in at. I'm over here shaking my tahini, y'all. Today's snack, cantaloupe. No, this is not cantaloupe. Cantaloupe is orange. This is honeydew. So today's snack of choice is honeydew. And, of course, we have our coffee. So I hope you all have snacks.
Clancy went to her doctors himself and told them they were turning her into a zombie. He's since filed his own complaint for malpractice and wrongful death, arguing his children might still be alive if their mother had received adequate care. This is the father of Cora, Dawson, and Callan. He was called as the prosecution's first witness. The state does have an answer to all this, and it deserves to be taken seriously because it is the strongest thing that they had in that fairly weak opening argument. Buckingham told the jury Lindsay Clancy withheld information from her husband and from her doctors, and that the symptoms she reported didn't match how she was actually living. You can't sue a physician for missing what a patient hides. Except underreporting isn't a wrinkle in postpartum illness. It's one of the defining features.
He just said you can't diagnose what a patient hides. God, I have so many comments, but I'm going to reserve them right now.
And it's been studied for decades. A review from Massachusetts General Center for Women's Mental Health, synthesizing 32 systematic reviews, identified fear of having a child removed by protective services as a primary reason women don't disclose. In one community survey of postpartum women, 1 in 5 who had symptoms told no provider at all, and roughly half reported at least one barrier that made asking for help extremely difficult or impossible. A mother who is terrified of losing her children does not hand a clinician a complete inventory.
That's
Every
fact.
practice in this country knows that. It is the entire reason routine screenings exist. Building a first-degree murder prosecution on the premise that she should have self-reported perfectly asks a jury to hold a patient to a standard the profession built safeguards around precisely because patients can't meet it. And she wasn't hiding alone. Her husband was in those rooms asking, which brings it back to that last appointment. Every provider in this chain had 4 months of chances, and the final one came 24 hours before 3 children died. A patient told her psychiatrist she was desperate for something that would work fast. The note records no change in her mood. She went home desperate the day before. That appointment doesn't appear anywhere in the state's opening statement, and the prosecutor said the quiet part out loud.
And this is not a public debate about women's mental health and how the medical system treats women.
When she said that, I kind of beg to differ.
This case is about this defendant, Lindsay Clancy.
That the Commonwealth telling 12 women in advance.
Can you, I mean, if you're here, throw some ducks in the chat, because I think not even watching this man's I watched the first 5 minutes. How did I know he was going to go here? Hello. Wait, where's my crystal duck? Where we go? Look at that. I looked into the future and didn't even know it. See there?
Not to follow a thread, not to weigh it. That the Commonwealth telling 12 women in advance not to follow a thread, not to weigh it, reject it, just to agree up front that it isn't in the room. That's not part of this whole case, even though it's the crux of the whole case. It is in the room. It is the entire defense. Kevin Reddington stood up after her and told the same jury this case is exactly about women's health and postpartum psychosis. He has put it more bluntly in the past, saying society fails miserably at treating women with postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. And that approach is medicate, and medicate. A minute before that line, Buckingham said something else, and she moved right past it. She told the jury Lindsay Clancy had a means and access to mental health care that most people don't. She's right about that. Labor and delivery nurse at Massachusetts General, one of the most respected psychiatric hospitals in the country, a short drive up the road. Insurance, a husband who kept showing up and asking for help on her behalf. She had every advantage the system says you're supposed to have, and the system still sent her home with 13 prescriptions and a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. A psychiatrist who evaluated her at length afterward concluded she had bipolar disorder with psychosis of postpartum onset. Those findings are quoted in the civil litigation, along with her note that antidepressants can produce mania and mood instability in someone with bipolar illness. She was on Prozac. She was on Zoloft. The prosecutor offered her access to care as proof of guilt. It is the most damning sentence anybody said about the medical system that morning. And it came from the Commonwealth's table without even realizing what they're saying. Near the end of that opening, Buckingham read the jury the actual test, whether a person can appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of the conduct and whether they can control their actions. She said both parts out loud correctly. The arguments she actually made were these: the clock, the 14 seconds, the CVS timing, the overachiever, the strict schedules, the food planned carefully, the sleep schedule on to the minute. Every one of them goes to whether she knew what she was doing. Almost nothing in that hour goes to whether she could stop. The Commonwealth has to prove both beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 women who spent jury selection answering written questions about whether anyone in their family is.
There is 12 women and 6 men. And again, the men being there is great. They're going to see this in a different eye, I feel, than a woman. And this is just pure my opinion on this. I feel a man may have a little more trouble judging, not knowing.
Has been diagnosed with postpartum depression or bipolar disorder. There's one more thing that the jury will be instructed on, and it's a piece the public almost never gets right. A verdict of not guilty by reason or lack of criminal responsibility does not open a door. In Massachusetts, it sends her to a secure psychiatric facility with periodic hearings to determine whether she could ever be safely released. Lindsay Clancy is already held at Tewksbury State Hospital. She's paralyzed from the waist down. She comes to court in a wheelchair. Nobody is walking out of anything. This case never should have gone to a jury. The medical record laid out.
This case should have never gone to a jury. Tony, I kind of disagree with that, but it's okay. It's okay. I really don't. As with any, I mean, well, unless there was there a plea deal to be taken? Wait, that's kind of weird. Now I'm thinking out loud, so excuse me.
In those civil complaints, a very real story. And this case never should have gone to a jury. The medical record laid out in those civil complaints, a very real story. And the right venue for it is a licensing board and a courtroom where the providers sit at the defense table. Instead of the Commonwealth going and spending 2 months trying to convince 12 women that a mother who begged for help for 4 straight months was running a con. I don't think they get there. I think this one hangs.
Okay. So we're going to dive into a woman, and her name is Carol Cornado. I'm going to let you listen to this, and this is going to take a turn. I don't know if you've heard of Carol Coronado, but let me introduce you to her.
Deaths of 2-year-olds. A mother was sentenced to life in prison on Monday for slitting the throats and stabbing her 3 daughters at their home. The mom committed the horrific act allegedly to get back at her husband. Carol Cornado was found guilty in the May 2014 deaths of 2-year-old Sophia, 16-month-old Yazmine, and 2.
This was 14, May 20th, 2014.
Month-old Xenia. Prosecutors said Coronado killed her children before trying to harm herself. Coronado's husband Rudy told the Daily Breeze that she wasn't sane at the time, and her attorney says that she truly needed help and no one was there to help her.
I lost my whole family. My three little girls. And Carol, she didn't need to do that. I strongly believe that. I strongly believe that it was she, because she was a totally different person. That wasn't her.
Coronado pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but a judge ruled she was sane at the time of the murders. She was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder last year after a bench trial. Coronado's attorney, who maintained his client was suffering from postpartum psychosis, said he plans to appeal, Be sure to watch Inside Edition.
Okay. So she was convicted. Carol Cornado was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole on February 1st, 2016, following her conviction for the first-degree murder of her 3 young daughters. She had a bench trial. They said she was not insane at the time. But we're going to listen to her story. This is a longer story. I'm going to drop this in the chat. This is Artemis Rising Foundation. It's called Not Carol. This is Not Carol examines the scourge of postpartum psychosis throughout the tragic prism of the Carol Cornado murder trial. So this, if you want to look back later, you know, Hannah, I understand that. I completely understand that. And I think that this trial will bring out a lot of that. Now, this is a total different story. Not total different story, but it's the seemingly same scenario. From my understanding at this point, as Lindsay Clancy. So that's kind of why I wanted to kind of go over it. She killed her children. Can we forgive her? This was the article. This is what you see on my title, on my thumbnail. Several psychiatric experts said Carol Cornado was psychotic when she killed her 3 daughters, but proving insanity comes down to a moral test, not a clinical one. So this is the article, but we actually have, this was put out in August 29th of 2025, and this is called Not Carol. This is the story of the thing. It's an hour and 17 minutes long. It is on YouTube. I will drop it in the chat. Also, all my links are in the description box. Yes, exactly, Southern. That's been a big problem. Yeah. And I think I have not listened to this whole Not Carol, the Carol Cornado story. I did do some reading on it. So I think this will just kind of give us an inside look into another similar incident. And she's serving 3 life sentences in prison. Now we got to think about Lindsay. Okay, Lindsay's in a wheelchair. She's not going anywhere. So whether she spends it in a prison or a mental facility, it's going to be up to these 12 women and 6 men, whoever are chosen for whoever the jurors ended up being, because, you know, we know they have 18. I don't know which ones will be picked to do the actual bidding, but, you know, this has happened before. So I'm a little scattered with my thoughts. I'm sorry, guys. I told y'all I was in the kitchen cooking. Hannah says, if she was mentally at the time, why wouldn't she now be like, yes, I did it. I was sick at the time, but LWAP, because that's what I deserve. You know, I don't understand that either. Why not just take a plea? Why are we going to trial? We know she's not going anywhere. She's going to be in a chair, whether she's in a chair in a facility, a mental facility, or if she's in a chair in a in a prison. So with her being in either one, is it going to be she's going to get better mental health care in the facility of the mental facility, or is she going to get better mental care being in a prison facility? I mean, there's so many variables here that we have to just stop and well, hello, Queen Lady Wolf. How are you today? I see my chat jumping around saying hi. And see, and that's the other thing, is the husband clueless of how serious it, because and again, when you're going through this and you're trying to tell somebody what you're feeling, sometimes they listen, but they don't really listen. They hear you, but they don't hear you. So that's why I kind of felt like this story, as I kind of scrolled through and listened to, it was very important. So Cindy says, Hannah, women do recover from postpartum psychosis with the right treatment and medication over time. Yeah, and had she been treated properly, had she been given the right medication, had she not, I understand from personal reasons, I understand her going doctor to doctor, trying to find the right one that's going to give her that right fix. And she knows she's not right. She needs that fix, but she wants it right now. And sometimes right now isn't reasonable when it comes to mental health. It's not a reasonable request. Unless you just want to be knocked out somewhere and laying down on some Thorazine, you're not going to get better. Okay. It takes time. Pills aren't magical. They don't work overnight for mental health. In a lot of situations, it doesn't work that way. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that. So let's get into this. Let's start listening to this. Not Carol is what it's called. And we will pause for commentary.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Mom, I just need you to call me back. Please. I really need to talk to you as soon as you get a minute. If you could just call me back, that would be great. I love you. Bye.
I heard the voicemails that Carol left my mom the morning of May 20th. My mom, of course, didn't get these voicemails till later in the day.
Please, please, please.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Mom, I don't know what to do anymore. I have slept. I'm so tired. I think I really need some help. I'm so scared. Things are so weird over here.
Can one of my mods do a trigger warning? Hey, 80s, welcome in. Yeah, we need a trigger warning thrown up because this is a bit much. Yeah, so if you can't handle this might not be a stream for you, but if you know, we're working on the Lindsay Clancy. This is a Carol Cornado story back from 2014.
Can you call me back? I just need you to call me back. Okay, I love you. Bye.
It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear my sister in so much pain. She was hurting so bad. She needed help, and unfortunately.
Okay, and these are the real life family members that have dealt with this. So this will be emotional.
She didn't call me.
Now, also, if you take a step and you look at the ages of these children, these are back-to-back pregnancies. 2, 16 months, 3 months. These are back-to-back pregnancies. I just wanted to point that out.
And I first heard that Carol harmed her daughters. I knew she was sick. I knew there was something wrong with her. She would never harm her child. You don't do this on purpose.
Who in their right mind?
Also, during the stream, Cindy will probably be posting links. There are links in the description for anybody seeking help for any of the above. Cindy's kind of been my little right hand on this one, getting me through this one, and I appreciate you for that, Cindy. Thank you.
Mine could do this to their own kids. Who? If there's a person out there, I hope I never meet them, but Carol wasn't that person to me.
Hi, Yazzie. Ata, mi tikita. I'm recording. Yazzie and Mommy. Carol was one of the sweetest, greatest people you would ever come encounter with. She was a great mom. She was always there for my daughters.
Carol was extremely beautiful. She was not only beautiful, but she was also very sweet. She was very genuine. What you see is what you get with her.
I'm sorry, let me back it up because I don't want to hide any of that. I'm going to I think I might move my little bubble up here to the top for the stream because it seems to be that they're putting the information. Okay, because they're putting the information of the names down here in the corner who is speaking. So I don't want to cover that up because I kind of think that's important. So I'll move me up top. See, I'm up here. Information's down there. I feel weird being up here, but it's okay. I feel like hi there.
Very sweet. She was very genuine. What you see is what you get with her. She's very gentle. Even her voice is very soft. I can't imagine Carol ever raising her voice.
Carol, an amazing mom. She so much.
Sophia. What's cooking? Oh, she found a cookie.
Hello, wafer from your snack.
She always had either Yazzie or Sophie in her arms, right? So she adored.
But you see these interactions, they seem normal. They feel normal. They look normal.
Toward her kiddos. I felt very comfortable around her. And I think that if she was available, I would most certainly ask her to watch my kids for a few hours and so forth, just because I knew how gentle she was with her kids.
There was times when my son would go out to her house and she would take him out to San Pedro to go see the boats. She took my kids, something that I've never even done. To this day, she took them out to go see the stars.
Carol's compassion for others is probably one of the biggest things about her. She loves people. She wants to help. She was in the CCCs, California Conservation Corps. She was in the Army briefly. She got honorably discharged for a problem with her hip. She then moved on to the Naval Reserve.
She was very ambitious, always trying to educate herself, reading books, asking a lot of questions. She was very curious about the professional world. I know for sure that she did become a certified X-ray technician, and she was very proud of that. She had goals and ambitions. Eventually, she wanted.
Comparison, remember Lindsay Clancy was a nurse. Not that that makes a difference, just a comparison thought.
To run the radiology department.
She always got herself into something. School, she was taking online classes. So she was still going to the university while feeding and breastfeeding and changing diapers and caring for them girls.
If she was ever feeling anything, any type of depression, or she's feeling sad or even stressed out, I did not sense it. I did not see it. The only thing I saw in her was joy and pride and just happy to be a mom and just happy to have her daughters.
There is no more sacred relationship in our sense of how the world should work than the relationship between a mom and her child. We rely on that relationship. It's what's kept the species going.
When we hear that a mother has taken the life of her child, we're horrified. The public is horrified. They see her as the devil. They see her as evil.
The initial reaction is one of revulsion, one of anger. The actions so defy what we all hold as being the pinnacle of.
Well, looky there. There's George. There's George. Just as I put my face over his name, this is George Parnham. This gentleman is Andrea Yates, representative lawyer. He is okay. I know this man. He's a wonderful, wonderful lawyer. George, oh God, I could do nothing but speak highly of this man. And anyways, I don't know. I just got kind of smiley just seeing his face. I didn't know he was going to pop up in this. So sorry, total squirrel moment. Okay, y'all, just because we know, I just for a minute, okay? Call me in the chaos. Let's get back to it. Hey, George. Hey, haven't seen you in a while.
Love, Madonna and child.
The idea that a mother who's supposed to love her child would kill that child, in any way harm and neglect that child, is really difficult to grasp. Until you understand, what I've learned to understand is that it's absolutely not her fault.
Y'all are seeing these numbers,
The
right?
numbers of women who suffer is shocking. It is horrifying. We now know that is a leading cause of maternal death in the.
Okay, because of censorship, she said the S word, the side word. So, and they have to bleep that out in order. So,
first year. Women are committing suicide, and we're not still addressing this as a major public health issue.
Motherhood is full of paradoxical feelings. I love this child. This child is, getting on my nerves. I love motherhood. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Every day is a series of paradoxes which can build up to create no-win situations. The more stress that a person has in their lives, and having multiple children, having economic stress, having work stress, relationship stress, then our ability to manage and hold all of that is severely compromised. And so it's actually not surprising that some women snap.
always kind of get the same kind of colors for them. We used to kind of have colors for them. Sophie's color was purple. Yaz's color was yellow. Xenia was white. They were what I love the most in my life. I miss them so much. They were bright. Everywhere they showed up, they illuminated the place. I can't believe it. It hurt. I couldn't see their beautiful faces. You know? Oh my God.
And if y'all think back to what we watched yesterday with Patrick Clancy on the stand and how well composed he was until they started showing pictures of his children. When they started showing pictures of his children, we seen him noticeably start breathing heavy. His voice changed a little bit. He started shifting. So this trauma goes on far beyond just the incident, as we say. This is another father that's been through it, that's grieving in his own way.
So sorry, baby. I'm so sorry.
This afternoon, this driveway is where sorrow still lingers. Over here, you will find a growing memorial for 3 young girls who were found dead in a bed, and now their mother is facing criminal charges.
We know they're all in heaven. Please pray for my babies. Pray for Rudy. And even pray for that woman. She had a demon inside her that day.
The suspect in this case is 30-year-old Carol Cornado. Carol had called her mom saying she was going crazy. When the grandmother came to help, she found the bodies of her 3 grandchildren in one bed. Carol, the grandmother said, had been stabbing herself.
So you hear that also. Carol also tried to take her own life. Not only did she take the lives of the children, she did try to take her own life. She is not in a wheelchair.
I go to the Twin Towers right now and go see Carol. She's housed in the medical ward inside the jail. Need to visit her about the upcoming trial we have. I'm looking for the right result, which I believe and our experts believe is that she's not guilty by reason of insanity. You know, yes, the act was done. I don't think there's a real question as to who did the act. We're not really arguing that. The argument comes down to what was her state of mind at the time of this incident. You know,
Y'all realize, listen to me. This was 2014. This was 12 years ago. These are the same things that we are hearing with Lindsay Clancy. We're not doubting she did it. No one's questioning, did she do it? It's the state of mind.
Everyone agrees that there's something going on with Carol. Something was going on at the time of this incident. You know, she wasn't herself. The prosecutor, Ms. Spears, and her team of police officers that are working on this case are very set on convicting her of first-degree murder. But what keeps me going is knowing that Carol wouldn't have done this. You know, knowing her as a person and knowing more and more about postpartum psychosis keeps me going. It keeps me doing everything I can for the right result for her.
I met Carol Cornado upon her arrival at Twin Towers Correctional Facility, roughly maybe 6 days after her crime. When I met her, she was similar to a catatonic patient. She appeared extremely depressed. She barely moved. We had placed her in a gown, a Kevlar material. It's not comfortable. Most inmates ask right away, how long am I going to be in the gown? When do I get out of the gown? She didn't mention the gown. It's like it wasn't even there. She seemed very thin. She looked like she had not been eating. And even though she had just had surgery and had been given medications, to help her sleep, it sounded like she hadn't slept in over a week. And she looked like it. The diagnosis that I gave her in layman's term is postpartum psychosis. There were 3 psychiatrists who had seen her in those first 5 or 6 days. And the consensus was that, this is a very sick patient. Also, I screened her for depression, and it did appear that she had had depression after both of her pregnancies, actually, and, wasn't treated. So that actually elevates her risk significantly during a 3rd pregnancy. So she had that risk factor there.
We got the Alpine Billy swap meet. I sell auto parts here. I've been here for 7 years. Eso para el liqueo.
Ajá.
Para el liqueo y para cuando se está el hardship.
Ajá. ¿Cuánto cuesta este?
10.
Ok, gracias.
Okay.
Ajá.
A lot of people come through. For me, this is the hardest part of the day is picking up, getting ready to leave to go home. I used to be in a rush to go home. I couldn't wait to get home to my girls. And now it's like the part that I miss the most is my hi daddies, my smiles. They used to run to me when I got home. And I don't get none of that no more.
As a father, I was kind of raised to work, provide for your family. We didn't really have no luxuries. Like, we didn't have a lot of extras, but we weren't like struggling. We were okay. I love the fact of having to provide for my family because that made me. I love the fact of waking up in the morning, coming to work. Because before I left to work, I would look around and I see my little girls. And that was my energy. That was my power to push. And I pushed. For them, I pushed. It's hard for parents with one child, let alone 2, and then 3, and then back to back. It's very hard.
He recognized that. 3 kids back to back, it was hard. He recognized that. Does he also recognize that it's hard on the mom?
Carol did most of the duties when it came to my daughters. I would help her, but she did mainly 95% of it. Now I did like going to work and providing, but she did most of the maintaining. So it was very difficult for Carol as well. It was very difficult.
I don't know about y'all, but that was just a really, really sinking moment right there, the way he just said that.
It was very difficult.
Sometimes you realize too late.
Carol's babies were very close together. Sophia and Yazzie were 14 months apart, and Yazzie and Xenia were only 13 months apart. Shortly after they got engaged, she found out she was pregnant, and she was so excited about it. She'd send pictures and tell me when her doctor's appointments were, and, oh, we get to go see the baby today. She was always super excited about it. When Sophia came, it was probably the happiest day. I don't know that I've ever seen her happier. She was full of joy. She was definitely very excited about meeting her, holding her. She didn't want to let go of her baby. It was her baby. I don't think she had any difficulties with it. She didn't complain about being overly uncomfortable.
Big bite, big bite. Big bite, big bite.
I don't know that she was necessarily ready to have more babies.
Okay. I want to explain something to y'all while we're reading this. We're going to pause and talk about this just a second. Okay, there's a couple little differences that's going to be between what we're listening to right now, that is a trial that has happened in the past. Okay. It happened in the past, and we're comparing it to a trial that is current. Okay. So I want to talk about that real quick. So, for one thing, pre-incident care. We will hear here, Carol had no official diagnosis before the crime. Her severe postpartum psychosis was only diagnosed by medical experts during the post-arrest evaluation. Okay. Medication was not a central focus of the defense, and she was largely untreated at the time of the murders. Okay. Now, on Lindsay's side, the current trial, she has an extensive medical history. She aggressively sought help, calling crisis lines, visiting ERs, spent time in psychiatric facilities weeks before the event. She was severely over-medicated. You will see we went through the cocktails of medicines. There was 13 different meds, whether they were the psychosis meds, whatever the meds, there was 13 of them. And mixing those can cause issues. In Carol's case, we're going to learn that the state argued as a revenge, saying that she killed these children to spite her husband after he allegedly threatened a divorce. Okay. So, and that's going to be the difference. I don't know that anything has came out about the Clancys or anything like that. So, I know that they're trying to say that she planned this because she sent him to the CVS. So we will see. we will see what comes up with this. So let's go back over here. I just wanted to give y'all a little insight into that. So she had no diagnosis, she had no medications. So there was a difference, but it's a very similar story.
I don't necessarily think any of them were planned. I think they were kind of more surprises, welcome surprises.
When Carol became pregnant with Yazmine, she was having problems, maybe because they were too close together, I don't know. There's points where she was bent over and she couldn't get up in the kitchen. I had to help her up and put her in bed.
I didn't notice any changes in Carol after Yazzie, other than the fact that she was tired. But, you know, I'm a mom too. I'm tired all the time. She didn't seem sad.
I mean, I know that she was very, very stressed because the kids were so close in age. My kids are 2 years apart, so I understood what she was going through when you have little kids. But she was always very patient.
Okay, one more thing I want to make note here is these are two different states. We're talking California versus Lindsay being in Massachusetts. So the way they're going to handle any type of insanity defense is it can be different between the two states. So we have to keep that in mind too.
She would never yell at the girls.
Do that one. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Good job, Sophia. 5-5.
In California, just so you are aware, the burden of proof is on the defendant in California. In Massachusetts, it's on the state, the prosecution, the Commonwealth. So, and in Massachusetts, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And in California, it was preponderance of evidence. So Coronado's attorneys had to actively prove to the judge that she was insane. And it was just a bench trial. So there was no 12 women and 6 men to sit here and discuss this, okay? Coronado's attorney had to actively prove to the judge she was insane. If the evidence was a 50-50 tie, state won by default, and she was deemed sane. Once Clancy's defense presents credible evidence of mental illness, the prosecutor must prove she was sane. They must prove her sanity beyond a reasonable doubt. So you see, these are two different states. So there's different rules. And I kind of find that just, it's tearing me a little bit. It's tearing me because I read on that yesterday and I was like, okay, I need to make sure y'all understand that it really threw me a little bit. Hey, Mustang, good afternoon, love. I hope you're having a blessed day. Okay, back to the story. So now we know that, you know, for one, this was a bench trial. It makes a difference. Lindsay's going to get the opportunity to be in front of 12 women and 6 men. Now, whoever is picked do the final on the jury, that's that. But it's going to be a different feel to me personally.
Carol did confide in me that it was very difficult for her because she was trying to better herself. She was trying to finish her bachelor's degree. She was trying to do a lot of things that were already difficult as it was, and still trying to be a mother and a wife. When, you know, she was with the children all day, Rudy was working, and when he would come home, she would expect him to take over so she could try to do things, make dinner or study or do whatever she needed to do. But Rudy expected certain things. His mother was a stay-at-home mom, and so he expected dinner to be set and to take care of the kids, and he would go to work and come home and things should be done.
When Carol was pregnant with Xenia, we went to a baby shower, and she was probably like 7 months or so, and she couldn't walk. And so then I looked at her and then I said, "Are you okay?" And then she says, "Yeah." She's like, "I get a lot of pain." And she's like, it happened with my second pregnancy, and I don't know what it is. But it's like I can't, like almost like she was crippled because she was limping and she couldn't walk straight.
Carol was feeling a lot of pressures after the third baby. When Xenia came into the picture, she just was tired, more tired and hungry, she would say all the time. Mom, I'm tired, I'm hungry. Xenia was real hard on her. And then she fell into like a depression.
When we had Xenia, we argued a little more than usual, taking care of a newborn child and the lack of sleep, the lack of rest. And then plus it's the third child. It's not the first or the second, so it's a lot more intense.
I was nervous for her. I was nervous about Xenia coming so quickly after Yazzie. I mean, that's stressful on anybody. Rudy didn't help too much, so I was really hoping that would change after Xenia so she could at least get a little bit more sleep than she was getting.
Sometimes would go over there and help him out and talk to him and tell him, hey, you have to help your wife. You have to be a team player. It's okay for a man to wash a dish. It's okay for a man to change a diaper.
She seemed to get more angry maybe towards Rudy. Like she would describe, he would get upset with her when the babies woke him up in the middle of the night. So she had to be on constant baby duty, which made...
I'm seeing a pattern right here of a man that wasn't very understanding in the moment. He may think twice about that now, but in the moment, he didn't see it. I don't think. Just my opinion. Y'all do your own research, take your own...
Made her more tired.
As I do look back at the whole situation, I wish I would have done more. To help.
Where's my crystal ball?
To relieve her of duties. Yeah, she was a good wife. She was a good woman. She was a good woman. She was always attentive of everything. She was always there. She helped out a lot. She helped out a lot.
She did everything.
She was a better wife than I was a husband. She was a better wife than I was a husband. She was a better person than me. She's a way better person than me. She just went through this. She went through this psychotic disease, and it ruined both of our lives.
Perinatal illness knows no boundaries. It can strike anyone, rich, poor, male, female. It doesn't matter what culture you're from, what ethnicity, how old you are. No one is immune.
There is a full spectrum of mental illnesses or mental health struggles that arise in the aftermath of childbirth. There's the baby blues that happen when the hormones are just crashing and burning after you have a baby. You'll go from a real high to a real low where you're suddenly weak.
Well, you're welcome, Mustang. I don't know for what, but you're welcome, love. You're always welcome here, and I appreciate you being here.
Sleepy and just uncontrollably sad.
The baby blues is very common among women. About 3 out of 4 women who give birth are going to experience this. Symptoms usually go away in 2 to 3 weeks.
Aside from that, there's the more serious postpartum depression that sets in for a percentage of the population, and it's generally within the first 6 weeks.
One of the hallmark characteristics of postpartum depression is the inability to sleep.
Sleep deprivation is absolutely key. Sleep deprivation is used as a torture technique. And so sleep deprivation is one of the key risk factors.
Then one.
Okay, I need to say this though. with any mental health issue, sleep deprivation is detrimental. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to have your sleep. I got a little extra sleep this morning, so.
One of the other ways in which we see postpartum depression present is with panic attacks. Women feel as though they can't cope. They feel totally overwhelmed. In some severe cases, women and they're not able to take care of their baby.
Postpartum psychosis is at the far end of that spectrum of mental illnesses. It happens in 1 or 2 women out of every 1,000 babies that are born.
It's a common misconception that postpartum psychosis is just really bad depression, but baby blues doesn't get worse and then it's depression and then it gets worse and then it's psychosis. They're different.
Thank you for being here, Dutchie.
Mental illness is a beast, and postpartum is a nasty.
The words postpartum depression to me mean living hell.
I had never heard of the term postpartum depression. And when this baby came around, I was hit by a buzz.
It hit me like a ton of bricks. I went in, working 80 hours, doing well.
So for anybody just coming in, just to let y'all know what we're doing, we're kind of doing we're reviewing a case that happened back in 2014 out of California. Her name was Carol Cornado, and she took the lives of her 3 children during a moment. And she is sentenced to 3 life sentences. And we are looking at the fact that that was California, which had different laws because the in California, the burden of proof is on the defendant. And in Massachusetts with Lindsay Clancy, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. So, these are going to be some things that I find very, very interesting. So, thank you all for being here. Please hit that thumbs up, like, stream if you don't mind. So, back to this. And these are some other ladies that are telling their stories.
I came out wanting to kill myself.
Huge trigger warning.
I noticed I was really irritable. I felt down. I was angry. I would lash out.
I'm experiencing daily anxiety attacks, something I'd never experienced in all of my 40 years.
The anxiety just kept getting worse and worse. And it was just these constant thoughts that you just could not shut up in your own mind. That was part of the living hell. And it would be anything from, like I said, the baby wipe to not wanting the kid, to having to make dinner, to doing the laundry, to she's crying again, till I got to feed her, till I got to get up. My husband's coming home. People are visiting. I'm exhausted.
He would cry. I would cry. And we would just cry together.
I fell 5 million feet down. I wanted to be the mother that I had always dreamed of being. And instead of being able to be that mother, I was on my knees and I could hardly function.
My wife would get into her depressed states and she would basically just not take care of herself, my daughter, even the animals in the house, like the dogs and the cats wouldn't get fed. Like my daughter would be still in the same diaper since I left for work in the morning.
I stopped eating. I lost 55 pounds in 2 months.
But I also was really struggling with intrusive thoughts about harming my baby.
I would be holding her and I would think, I wonder if I just banged her head into the counter. And then I'd be like, what do you mean? I don't want to bang her head into the counter.
I would pass an electrical cord and I would suddenly imagine it around my baby's neck. I would pass a microwave. I would imagine putting the baby in the microwave. Any possible harm.
These thoughts are alien to these women. It's not that they really want to do it. And in fact, they feel terrible. They are just tortured.
I was horribly ashamed and really quite afraid of telling anyone.
Right there. Did you hear that? She's afraid to tell anyone. What you're right, Mustang. Absolutely. It's actually scary. Those intrusive thoughts with your newborn, that's scary. This happens more than we realize. Some people can fight it, and we see here some people can't.
I kept the scariest of the images and thoughts to myself. And it was a horrible, deep secret.
And all I could think of was, if I just close my eyes and go to sleep, she'll be fine. My husband and my mother are here to take care of her. I did my job. I brought her into this world. I am not equipped to take care of her. My job was just to be a vessel and bring her here. There's no way I can even try to take care of this young baby.
Most women feel like they're going off the deep end. They have absolutely no idea what's happening to them.
And again, the shame of feeling depressed at a time when you're expected to feel really happy tends to exacerbate the problem of postpartum depression. Women tend not to name it. They tend not to talk to their doctors or even their spouses about it.
They want to hide it. Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to admit something like that. Who in their right mind would want to go tell somebody, hey, I feel like hurting my child. Hey, I feel like putting my child in a microwave. Hey, I feel like throwing myself down the stairs with my baby. Who's going to say that? It takes a lot. It takes a lot emotionally to even come out and say something's wrong.
And we blame ourselves. And we think there's something wrong with us. And we silence ourselves. And the stigma piles on and it piles on and it piles on. And I'm not going to say out loud that I don't feel connected to my child. I'm not going to say out loud that I don't feel attached. I'm not going to tell you that I'm terrified to be a mother, that I'm afraid that I made the worst decision, that my child would be better off without me. I'm not going to say any of those things.
Mustang, you say that. But it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. Speaking up is not always easy. It's not. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to get emotional.
The father of those 3 young girls allegedly murdered by their mother in Torrance came face to face with his wife in court today for the first time since that family tragedy.
No cameras were allowed in court, but reporters were. Carol Cornado was brought out in a wheelchair. We watched as Rudy Coronado shook uncontrollably and wiped away tears every time her name was mentioned.
This obviously was a big story. The public was very interested. There are hardly ever stories like this where a mother is accused of killing her own children.
I just want to thank everybody for their support. Everybody.
I first found out about the case when my boss called me in the evening, and she told me that to turn on the news. And I turned on the news and started watching some of the facts of the case. Cases aren't typically assigned personally like this particular case was. Usually they just arrive on my desk and I prosecute them from that. But given the media attention to the case and given the other difficulties of prosecuting this particular case, she offered me the option of prosecuting it. And I did want to take it. I mean, those little girls deserved my efforts to get them justice.
Coronado has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but the prosecutor, she's accusing Coronado of planning the murders, even though her family insists she was a good and loving mother.
I know Carol, and she would never, ever in a million years do anything like that to no one. And I don't have a lick of hate for her. I love her. That's the mother of my children, and she doesn't know what she did. That's why I'm gonna stand behind her 1,000% because I know she didn't do it. It's a disease out there that destroys families.
Can you tell me, what if she exhibited any sort of signs or?
There was a lot of signs that I didn't know how to read. This is the reason why we need to bring awareness to it, because I was never educated on nothing like this. I didn't have a clue. We need to bring awareness to this disease because it is a disease out there that needs to be known for everybody to save more lives, save more babies, save more families. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I don't even know what to say to that. Don't even know what to say. More awareness. More clarity of that this happens and that this is real. This does happen to women out there. The fact that men didn't understand. He didn't understand. He's seen signs, but he didn't know. He didn't know. He didn't know where to turn to get help. Or did he? His pride get in the way to speak up and say, hey, I see something's wrong with my wife, maybe. But did he see anything? He's saying he didn't. He was too busy doing his thing and left everything to her at home with the kids. You're right, he is speaking the truth.
Thanks for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy.
Rudy was the victim. He was the family member of the children who were killed. And yet he wasn't calling her
Bye, Hannah.
evil or anything and distancing himself from her and showing anger or anything. He was standing by her. I was surprised. I'd really never seen a case like that.
People affected by the postpartum psychosis, they're not themselves anymore. They don't know what's real. They don't know what's fake. There's no way Carol could have hurt her babies knowing that they were her babies. Not a chance.
Carol, when I went and visited her at the Twin Towers and trying to find out what actually happened, you can't talk because everything's being tape recorded. She goes, Mom, I heard voices. I went like, what voices, Carol? Because I'm interested now. What voices? She just shook her head no, like, I can't tell you, Mom. Someone was telling her to kill the children. So, of course, that's lingering in my head. Like, that happened to me. But when I had that, tell me, kill my child when I was breastfeeding, well, I didn't take action. So, like I said, I don't understand. If it's hereditary, yeah, I had the symptom of that.
Did y'all just hear that? Her mom said, I had the symptom of that. Her mom said, I thought about that. Her mom said, yes.
My child when I was breastfeeding, well, I didn't take action. So, like I said, I don't understand.
But she didn't take action. But she felt it. She dealt with it.
It's hereditary, yeah, I had the symptom of that.
Postpartum psychosis is an awful illness to have. Often it will occur very abruptly. The symptoms include confusion. They may not know where they are or what day it is.
These are women who have a complete break.
I do not know that. That's what she just said. She just sasses it hereditary. I will look it up. Cindy might know that answer, but I'll look it up while this is playing.
With reality in that they are hearing voices or even seeing delusions, seeing things that aren't there. They lose the ability to distinguish between what's reality and what's just a hallucination.
There are delusions associated with postpartum psychosis. Sometimes it's about the baby being evil. Sometimes.
Well, here you go. Gosh, I remember these days. Remember these days of the pop-ups? Gosh, it's been a while since I did a pop-up information in a trial. Geez, yes, postpartum psychosis has a strong genetic component. Research estimates its family-based hereditability at 55%, meaning it has an exceptionally high biological and hereditary predisposition. Thank you for that. Geez, it's been a while since we did a trial in here. So I forgot I used to do that. Yes, little pop-up infos. Ask anything. Rubber will find it.
Sometimes mother is feeling terribly inadequate.
Postpartum psychosis is a psychiatric emergency, and these women must be separated from their babies because we don't really know what's going on in their minds.
The statistics are that about 4% of these women will commit infanticide, and about 5% of these women will commit.
I've never heard about postpartum psychosis, nor were we ever spoken to about that after Shane was born.
Postpartum psychosis, I had never heard of that. In fact, until I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 months ago, when I started looking into postpartum depression after my wife was dead.
I respect that, Mustang. I respect that a lot. Did you hear what this man just said?
About that after Shane was born.
Postpartum psychosis, I had never heard of that. In fact, until I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 months ago, when I started looking into postpartum depression after my wife was dead.
Absorb that thought a second. He didn't stop looking. He did not start looking into postpartum depression till after she was deceased.
I suffered postpartum psychosis. I had it with my first child in 1980. During my first prenatal visit, when I saw my midwife, I told her I had done some pretty crazy things after Allison was born and I was hospitalized in the psychiatric unit. And her advice at the time was, you don't have to worry about that happening again.
I had a daughter named Melanie who wanted a baby more than life itself. And when Melanie delivered her baby, she went into postpartum psychosis immediately. I had no idea how deadly it was. I had no idea how many mothers had killed their children under the influence of postpartum psychosis. I had no idea that I wasn't going to be able to save my daughter.
And we can take that woman's thoughts and expressions and put it to Lindsay Clancy's mom and father sitting behind her in this court. It's probably nothing they ever in their wildest imagination thought their child would be capable of.
Everything really was picture perfect until I stopped nursing Michael at 9 months. Little did I know that that was going to drive me completely insane. And that's what happened.
I really only noticed anything a little less than 2 weeks prior to their deaths. It happened so quickly. It really started after she took a birth control pill. And she was never the same person from then on. Extreme paranoia, abnormal anxiety that I've never witnessed in my wife.
I started to think that Michael was the devil and that it was really my calling, that I needed to drown him. I remember kneeling, begging God to tell me what to do. And I took him and filled up the bathtub with lukewarm water, and I just placed him down until he died.
It seemed like Melanie was determined to die. She said, "Oh, Mommy, I'm such a bad mother. The baby doesn't deserve to have a mother as bad as I am. And I shouldn't live." She checked in a hotel and she went up to the 12th or 13th floor. I don't really want to know. And she jumped out of a window.
My wife, Charlene, I believe she did, in the end, take her life and Shane's life because she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. Just the fact that there was not enough information that could have prepared us for what was going on is a failure, with our system.
The problem is the information is there. It's just getting it to the right people at the right time. Maybe, and this is just me thinking out loud, maybe we need to think about before a child's born, talking about this, what's going to happen afterwards. Is there a therapy session, or I'm just talking out loud here, and please excuse me, something that can help these families, not only the women, but the men, understand that there's a possibility that things may not be normal.
My wife is dead. My kids have no mom. What I want to tell guys out there, or husbands, if you know or you feel something's off, you need to go talk to somebody. You need to go get help. And
high five. Thank you.
I would go even so far as to say you need to get her in the car, like right then, and go somewhere like a hospital.
Yes, sir. Amen.
You want to go by Carol's house where she kind of grew up? Sure. Right now we're in Compton. Compton's still Compton. Still not a safe place. Carol grew up around the corner. They were like the white kids in the neighborhood. She was in the Carson area.
I've known Carol over 20 years. She was a sweet, quiet little girl. She would sit to herself, play by herself.
She's very passive, like her mother. Very sweet thing. She was very obedient.
This is Carol's old house where she grew up.
This green one?
Yeah. I didn't used to look this way. It was all beat up like this. And then here's this house over here. Every time we would come by here, she would either start crying or she'd kind of go like this in this house right here. She said she got this house right here. She said she was like 5 years old. So yeah, we would come by this house, we would come by the street right here, and she would either shrivel up, or if we came walking, she would run past this like a little girl. Like she would have flashbacks of when she was young.
Carol did have some traumatic events in her life. She was a couple different times. Once by a family member. She had a scenario when she was in the Army briefly. To my knowledge, she didn't report it to anybody, but she did tell us about it.
She was always stuck in the past of all the traumatic things that happened to her. So every time something happened, she would always compare it to something that happened in the past. And her past, she was real fearful of.
We know now, the science is there, that there is a significant correlation between early childhood trauma and later psychotic illness. I think we have to look back at her psychiatric history, her trauma history, so that we can understand how did she get from this place where she gave birth to this child that she really wanted to the events that occur.
You know, what's so fascinating about this case and tragic, of course, at the same time, is that there were 3 babies lost.
Right.
Not just one.
And because it's 3 babies and not one, we vilify her 3 times as much.
Instead of recognizing that that's a risk factor, they were all under 3, and what mom doesn't understand.
And a woman with mental illness, a woman who was seriously mentally ill. I mean, you're familiar with Carol's case. Mm-hmm. You've spoken with Rudy. You're very well versed in, her own trauma history. And it's like a textbook. I mean, she checks all the boxes. She has, first of all, was hearing, voices from the time she was age 5, has been a witness to domestic violence, has been repeatedly, and so all of us can only withstand so much.
When I look at the facts around Carol's case, the mental illness piece actually isn't just the psychosis. It's every bit of the baggage that she brought with her into the work of parenting. Who would have thought that it'd be a great idea to have a woman who had as much trauma as she did as a child at home by herself with a 2.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn? I mean, who should be alone in the house with a 2.5-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a newborn for hours at a time? That's a prescription for disaster, and yet we expect this of mothers every day. I mean, who among us is so hardy and healthy and strong that we can go into parenting 3 little kids in isolation that way? It's a system that's set up for failure. The expectation that moms can do this alone and that they don't need support needs to change. It's that expectation that motherhood is a solitary sport that needs to be shifted.
It's hard for any of us who haven't experienced this or lived with this firsthand to understand how could this happen?
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I think we can understand if we put ourselves in Carol's shoes. Maybe that could have been me. I wasn't such a strong mom when I had my babies. It was so hard. So it could have been me. Could have been me.
It's kind of interesting to sit here and look at all the different perspectives of these women. I can remember when I had Muffins, my sole thought was, this is mine. I could never hurt her. I could never, this is the only thing that's going to love me unconditionally. And it was something I could never harm. So take that as you will.
Now thinking back, knowing about postpartum, I see the signs now.
She was getting depressed.
But on the flip side of that, I do know personally somebody who dealt with postpartum psychosis that I did take their child and take care of for a period of time. So I do know it exists. So I do want to say that also.
about a month or two before the incident.
Her eyes were drooping and she just kept saying, "Oh man, Robin, I'm so tired." She would just describe her nights. As soon as she got Xenia down, Yazzie would wake up, and then Yazzie screaming would cause Rudy to wake up, and then he would yell at her, which would then wake up Xenia, and then now she has two babies to deal with. It was rough. I told her, I was like, you need to get him to help you.
In May, I sensed that Carol was very overwhelmed. She was depressed. She was trying to do the best she could. She was trying to help put the girls in daycare and go back to work, because that was the only way that she would be able to further her annual salary. She didn't like where they were living. They were living in a back house that was a garage converted into a room, a room and a half. It was very small. It wasn't a place for the girls to play in the front yard. Given the childhood that she dealt with, she wanted more for her children. She wanted to give them a safe environment to grow up in. Her children were her motivation.
The week before my son's birthday party, she was there. She only had the baby because Sophia and Yazzie were with their godmother. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just so tired. I just needed some help." She was there physically, but it didn't seem like she was there mentally. She was rude. She didn't hold Xenia. It seemed like she was not Carol.
Days before it happened, she was acting weird, going outside and shutting off the power to the house. One day she jumped on me. The day before she jumped on me. And she's not a violent person. She's not a physical person.
The day before when she was at my house, even the look in her face, her eyes were dilated. I remember telling my daughter, her eyes look funny, but never have I imagined that they were funny because something she was going through.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Mom, I just need you to call me back. Please.
She was acting weird since the morning. Since we woke up, she was acting weird. She woke up, screamed like a crazy person. And I didn't know how to deal with it or how, so I just kind of walked out and called her mom.
I feel guilty about that day because I couldn't answer my phone. I was driving school buses. And it kept ringing.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
I need help. I'm just nervous. I've been having anxiety. I can't sleep. And everything just feels really wrong. I think I just
These voicemails are going to be very, very triggering, but they're very open and honest feelings of what Carol was feeling at the time. So
I need you to call me back when you have a second, okay? I love you.
The day of, I was supposed to watch the baby. I was gonna watch it, Sophia and the baby. She was supposed to bring them over so I could watch them. And I have guilt because I tell myself if I would have had a car, I could have picked them up and they would still be here.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Mom, if you could call me back, I think I really need some help. We had a really big fight this morning, and I don't know what to do anymore. We're running out of money, and I haven't slept. I'm so tired.
In the afternoon, I was outside working on a car. In the afternoon, I went to the auto parts to get a part for the car. But before I left, I called her mom again and told her that she was acting weird. Carol was acting real weird.
I get off work at 4:15. I parked in the driveway. I went in the house, and but I said, Carol, you okay? The girls were dressed, all three laying on the bed, and I thought they were all three asleep. I said, oh, and I hugged her. How was your day, Carol? Oh, it wasn't a good day, Mom.
Her mom called, screaming at me across the street.
Okay. I'm going to back that up because I want you to hear.
I parked in the driveway. I went in the house.
It's going to be the last thing this woman ever expected to walk into that house and find.
And but I said, Carol, you okay? The girls were dressed, all three laying on the bed, and I thought they were all three asleep. I said, oh, and I hugged her. How was your day, Carol? Oh, it wasn't a good day, Mom.
Her mom called, screaming at me across the street. And she didn't want me to go in the house. She told me, Carol, killed my daughter. Then I went inside. I see my little girl's dead. Carol was naked holding a knife. And I wanted to kill her. But I don't know what stopped me.
She backed up and went around that bed. She did have a knife in her hand. She was an animal backed up in a corner. That's how I'm going to say it. She's going, come on, look at me, Rudy. But I never seen my daughter act like that. She's up on her haunches and the three children there, and she went like this. She took a breath. She lifted up her breast, and she stabbed herself.
Carol had a pretty significant attempt. She actually ruptured the sac around her heart. So she got pretty close, actually, to her heart. So that tells us she wanted to die right away.
Comparable to Lindsay Clancy. As we know, Lindsay Clancy cut both wrists and her throat and jumped out a window. So, I don't think Lindsay wanted to survive this either, in my opinion.
In a surprising number of cases of mothers who kill their children, there's also an attempt. It's all a product of a decision that the mom has made, that she's failed in her job and that she has to kill herself. And then this, again, distorted thinking about what a good mom would do if she's actually going to kill herself, which would be to protect her children by taking them with her. And it's a pattern that is not always recognized because the crime of killing the children is so heinous and shocking that we ignore the attempt. We just sort of, it was like not even a serious attempt. But we actually strip ourselves then of the ability to understand these cases, that the genesis of the crime comes from the mom's decision that she can't go on anymore.
It's been over a year since we started on Carol's case. and we're prepared for trial at this point. Well, it's a big case. It's an important case. You know, Carol's life is on the line here, and it's basically an area of law that's really not touched a lot. It's not seen a lot. And I don't think the laws are necessarily in line with what the defense is. So we're hoping that we can get the right result and change things, change the way that it's seen. And maybe things will change in the future. That's what we're hoping.
It sure was a windy day in California that day. I just needed to stop and say that.
We're hoping for a change in the law.
United States is one of the only developed nations that does not have an infanticide law. Let me look that up and see if anything's changed since this has happened.
Although people will describe this country as the most civilized country in the world, when it comes to issues of postpartum depression psychosis resulting in the death of a child, we're backward. We're not progressive. We're regressive.
The United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and 29 other European countries have infanticide laws. And these infanticide laws provide for the biological vulnerability of childbirth. If a woman kills her baby under 1 year.
Okay, wait. Y'all, we're squirreling. We're squirreling. Knock, knock, we're squirreling. Hold up. Infanticide laws, specifically legal statute, partial defense recognized in countries like the United Kingdom and Canada, applies when a mother causes the death of her newborn child while her mind is disturbed from the effects of childbirth or lactation. United Kingdom has one. Infanticide Act 1938, killing a child under 12 months old by their mother when the balance of the mind was disturbed by birth or lactation is treated as partial defense of murder, carrying penalties similar to manslaughter rather than a mandatory life under murder sentence. Canada's Section 233 of the Criminal Code of Canada defines infanticide as an indictable offense committed when the mother causes the death of the newborn child while not fully recovered from giving birth or lactation, carrying a maximum sentence of up to 5 years of prison. United States, there is no specific federal or state statutory crime called infanticide. Mothers who kill newborns are instead prosecuted under general homicide or murder statuses. Okay.
Of age, and she is found to have a mental illness. She is charged with manslaughter instead of homicide, and she's sent to a psychiatric hospital.
Here in the United States, we think of these issues very, very differently. And the laws are in direct conflict with how we think about psychosis and what we know about postpartum psychosis as mental health professionals.
The way that the criminal justice system responds to mental illness is to have a statute. Every state has its own statute for deciding who's insane and who's not. If you're insane, you have a 100% defense against the charge of homicide or of murder, right? So the stakes are really high for the criminal justice system because you're going to walk away with a not guilty for reasons of insanity. That possibility makes many states so nervous that they have clung to a 19th century definition of insanity.
About half of our states has something called the McNaughton statute. And what that states is that in order to be found mentally ill, the person did not know right from wrong at the time of the crime.
These laws assume that a person who is in the throes of deep mental illness is actually capable of thinking logically about right and wrong. And from the medical point of view, by definition, somebody who is in the throes of this profound psychotic episode is not capable of rational thought. Our doctors laugh at it when we tell them, oh, this is how you decide who's insane and who's sane.
There were two phases to this trial. The first was the guilty phase to determine whether Carol was guilty of committing the murders. And then the same.
And remember, it was a bench trial. It was a trial judged by the judge. It wasn't a jury of her peers.
Sanity phase.
Let's go ahead on the record now. People versus Coronado. Ms. Coronado is present, represented by Mr. Allen, and we have Ms. Spear here for the people.
Certainly, this is one of the most heinous crimes I've seen, and I've seen quite a lot in 10 years. But those little girls, they were absolutely slaughtered. I actually went to the girls' autopsies, and those girls were babies. And to see babies laid out on a cold slab like that is just absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. It's something I will never, ever forget.
The prosecutor had investigators describe the knives they found, including 3 knives laid out on a table. She's accusing Coronado of planning the murders.
We heard from coroners and evidence related to blood splatter and to autopsies. It was just a hard day overall, seeing all the photos and the evidence. Carol's demeanor and emotions change very drastically and very rapidly when she hears something, because for her, it's like the first time she's hearing it. And, you know, not having any memory of the incident, when you're confronted with some of these issues, it's very traumatizing to her. And she just doesn't know and doesn't believe that she could have done this. We got to court this morning. We were supposed to go right into our closing arguments, but Carol had some type of psychotic break. You know, she's confused. She's asking for her mom, asking for her kids, and asking for Rudy.
At this time, the court reporter cannot hear Mr. Allen. Make a record because of the disruptions by Ms. Coronado. At this time, the court is going to order that she be removed from the courtroom.
Stop saying my name.
While you're doing that, go ahead and make a record.
Your Honor, during the course of the morning, my client became more despondent. Let me talk. I need to talk. More withdrawn, confused, incoherent, and her overall behavior has altered.
This is a reenactment of the court hearing or the court proceedings. They have the transcript, but nothing was allowed in court. So what you're hearing is a reenactment. She was not okay that day of trial. She does. She looks just like her mom, Mustang. She looks just like her.
While you're doing that, go ahead and make a record.
Your Honor, during the course of the morning, my client became more despondent. Let me talk. I need to talk. More withdrawn, confused, incoherent, and her overall behavior has altered.
I need
Ms. Coronado.
Stop moving the table.
All right, let's go ahead and remove her. Remove her from the court, please. Mr. Allen, you may continue with your record. Mr. Allen, you may continue with your record.
She was lifted and removed by handcuffs. They lifted her off the ground. She screamed through the hallway. It was terrifying. You know, I've never seen her like this before. I don't believe she understands the nature of why she's there anymore. She's having a severe psychotic break. I declared a doubt as to her competency, and the judge didn't find substantial evidence of that today. She feels alone, you know, she feels trapped. And I'm afraid for her safety and her well-being right now.
Her safety probably being inside her own mind right now.
People versus Carol Coronado, BA 425234. The court finds as follows. The court finds the defendant guilty of murder upon Xenia C, guilty of murder upon Yazmine C, guilty of murder upon Sophia C. The court finds the murder to be in the first degree.
Carol Cornado gave up her right to a jury trial, instead deciding to have a judge decide her fate. Today, that judge decided that she was guilty of first-degree murder in the deaths of her 3 young daughters. During her last court appearance a week ago, Coronado had a breakdown and had to be dragged from the courtroom, kicking and screaming and crying out for her mother, husband, and children. Do you have a couple minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just ask you can you give us just your impression of the judge's decision today? Your attorney was saying, it was not really unexpected, the decision today.
She physically did the action, but she mentally didn't do it. She lost her mind. She lost her mind. It tears me apart because it's my little girls that I lost. I lost my whole family. My three little girls. And Carol, she didn't mean to do that. I strongly believe that.
The sanity phase of the trial, that begins tomorrow. Now, since the DA is not seeking the death penalty in this case, the sanity phase will decide whether Carol Cornado spends the rest of her life in prison or is sent to a mental hospital.
I've never spoken to Ms. Coronado personally, so it's very difficult for me to give you an accurate description. But from what I've read about her, in her employment records, her records in the Army, the military, seemed nice. I mean, she seemed like a nice lady. I don't know that I can tell you exactly how you get from being this nice lady to committing these types of heinous crimes.
It was hard to see from behind her, but her lawyer says Carol Cornado did shed a few tears. Deputies were describing what they found in her bedroom in Carson in May of last year. When one deputy saw her, he said, quote, she just had a blank stare on her face. Another said, quote, I don't know if she knew we were there or not.
They saw her in a state of confusion, and that confusion is very important for major depressive disorder, postpartum psychosis, the blank stare, everything that shows she's just not all there.
Well, my role in the trial was to help explain Carol's state of mind at the time that she took the life of her 3 children. I met with Carol 3 or 4 times. It was very clear to me that with the birth of each of her children, her perinatal mental illness became more and more severe. It was very clear to me after I left her the first time that this was a woman who had suffered with postpartum psychosis.
I saw Carol at Twin Towers Correctional Facility once a week over the course of about a year. In my professional opinion, Carol Cornado was psychotic at the time of her crime. The 2 psychiatrists who saw her in the first few days both, said she was psychotic. I mentioned in trial that we kept her on watch for over a year in a gown with 24-hour one-to-one observation, and her risk for was one of the highest, if not the highest at the time at Twin Towers for any of the 15,000 inmates. You're looking at somebody who is in need of severe psychiatric treatment.
She needs help. She belongs in somewhere where they can get her help. She's a role model person. This disease took over her mind, and She needs mental help.
The court finds as follows. The record should reflect that the court did consider Rule 4.423, subsection B, subsection 2, that the defendant was suffering from a mental or physical condition that significantly reduced culpability for the crime. The difficulty the court had with that rule was that although the court found the defendant was suffering from a mental or physical condition, the language significantly reduced culpability is something where the court believed it lacked. She is ineligible for probation and probation is denied. The defendant is sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms of imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
And a South Bay mother is going to spend the rest of her life behind bars for murdering her 3 daughters. Her lawyer says she suffered from postpartum psychosis. Well, today the judge said that he believes Coronado needs treatment, but he said, quote, that treatment will have to be in state prison.
I can't tell you why the judge wasn't able to understand the role that mental illness played in Carol's case. It just doesn't seem like a just outcome to me. I don't know how it's serving justice really at all to have her spend the rest of her life in prison.
How's she doing? Not good. Just told me to tell the family that she loves you guys and it's not your fault. I failed. I failed Carol. I don't know what else I needed to do. Obviously I respect the judge and his opinion, but he got it wrong. I think the evidence was there. I just don't know what was missing. So when you look at this and you look at postpartum psychosis and you recognize that it's real, it's placed right in front of our face and there's no other rational explanation, and they still won't even consider it.
This incredibly difficult case of Carol Cornado shows the need for there to be a law. There is a gap when the judge says, I understand the individual was suffering from mental health challenges, but we don't have any regulations to address this. And
we still don't.
You're going to rot in a jail cell for the rest of your life, and we're not going to address the actual issue. Makes no sense to me as a civil society.
We failed her twice. When she reached out and knew she needed help, we weren't there for her. And then to know that she's facing a life in prison is gut-wrenching. And we have 2 broken systems, a broken medical system and a broken legal system.
The idea of Carol being in jail, it's unreal. It hurts me. I wish I could help her. She needs help.
It pains me to know that she's sitting there. Because guess what? It can happen to you, it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. It's unbearable, and it's something that we should fight for her.
I have sympathy for what happened to Miss Coronado leading up to the murders. She was in an extraordinarily bad situation. Her family was financially strapped for cash. She was stuck caring for these kids every single day. So I have sympathy for her situation up until the time of the murders. But obviously I have no sympathy for a person who commits those types of crimes.
It seems obvious to me, having studied these cases for so long.
Okay, but I have to say, having sympathy for someone and understanding God, this is difficult. I don't have sympathy for Lindsay Clancy because she took the lives of 3 children. But should she just be locked away in a prison? No, I think it should be more of a mental facility. Because obviously she had some problems. I don't know. God, now I'm all torn and confused. I'm going to be quiet and let them talk.
Many years that the right response is one of empathy, because unless we try to put ourselves in their shoes, we strip ourselves of the ability to stop crimes like this from happening in the future. So if we care about the babies, then we need to actually put ourselves in her shoes and figure out what she would have needed in order to be able to succeed at parenting under these circumstances.
I am not spending my life behind bars. I think I've been given a great opportunity. After I lost Michael, I was tried by a judge who found me not guilty by reason of insanity. I went back to school. I got my master's degree in nursing. I wrote my thesis on screening for postpartum mental illness. I think my story is one of hope. I've lived that horrible story, and I've been able to overcome it.
My wish would be that we could look at these women differently, and that we stop blaming women and punishing them for an illness without recognizing that they are truly ill, and that it is the illness that's driving their behavior, not them. What we need to do is care for these women through the mental health system. We need to get them treatment because we know that when these women are properly treated, they're going to get well. They're going to get well.
Okay, we're going to pivot. I have it's actually 19-minute episode. This is about Andrea Yates, and then we're going to pull it all together with an ending, and that's going to be our stream. Just because we've talked about Andrea Yates, I feel like I should at least throw this in here. This is from my local news station, ABC 13. I'm going to drop it in the chat. I will also add it to the description box afterwards because it's not in there as of now. But I wanted to just wrap it up with Andrea Yates to see her brief story. And like I said, this is less than 20 minutes.
What's your name? Andrea Yates. What's the problem? I just needed to come. Is your husband there? No. Well, what's the problem? I need him to come. I need to know why we're coming, ma'am. Is he there standing next to you? Or she? Are you disturbed? Are you ill or what? Yes, I'm ill. You need an ambulance? No, I need a police officer.
We're going to bring you some breaking news now out of the Clear Lake area. Houston police.
Dead Koch. Dead Koch. God, I haven't seen him in years. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Say they were called about a welfare
Andrea Yates has not been charged just yet. We do know that within the last couple of hours, it happened in the house you see behind me here. The father is a NASA engineer. Police say while he was at work, his wife drowned their 5 children.
You love your children.
Yeah, it's not the right way, though.
Yes, this is the 20 years later episode that ABC just put out. ABC 13, my local station, just put out maybe 3 months ago. So, and it's a 20 years later.
5 precious children, 1 struggling mother. What Andrea Yates did on June 20th, 2001, inside her home stunned the nation. The then 36-year-old mother called 911 herself to report she had drowned her children. The years that followed were no less dramatic. An overturned conviction based on false testimony and a second trial that sent Andrea to a state hospital where she remains today. All of it shined a light on mental illness and exposed Andrea's demons that led to her children's deaths.
We get a call around 9:30, around about 9:30, 9:35, somewhere around there. And nice clear day and nice day, and didn't expect that at all, of course, but you never do.
On the morning of June 20th, 2001,
She had breakfast on the table. They were eating cereal.
36-year-old Andrea Yates waited for her husband to leave for work, fed her children breakfast,
I checked and the milk was cold.
and then one by one took them to the bathroom and drowned them.
I forgot how the call came in. I think it may have just came in as a, respond to the sick call, or I don't think it came in as I know it didn't come in as a drowning.
John Del Bosque,
I'm the paramedic who pronounced them.
a Houston firefighter, paramedic for 36 years, responded.
There was a police officer that may have beaten me there maybe about 5 minutes before I did. And as he walks out, first thing he says to me is, she killed all of them. And when he said that, I had no idea. I thought maybe mom, dad, husband, family, no idea what he meant by that. So I walked in, and that's when I found the 4 kids in the bedroom, all lined up. She had covered them. She didn't cover their heads, just up to their neck, and you can see all their faces. And they look like, to me, they look like little porcelain dolls.
4 children, 5-year-old John, 3-year-old Paul, 2-year-old Luke, and 6-month-old Mary, who was cradled in John's arm, all dead. Del Bosque thought they had been poisoned. 7-year-old Noah was still in the bathroom.
As I was walking out, I saw a trail of water. And when I saw the trail of water, I kind of followed it, and it led into the bathroom. And that's where I saw the oldest.
Let me look into that. Let me look. I'm gonna hit play, and we're gonna let me dig in my little filing cabinet box over here. Hold up.
Child, I believe that was Noah, if I can remember correctly. And he was still in the bathtub, face down. He was just bobbing in the water. That's when I realized she drowned him. So yeah, that was that day. Seeing 5, deceased kids, babies, it's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult to see that. So yeah, it's probably, obviously it was my worst call, I think. Yeah.
It happened in
For
the
most
house
of us,
you
it
see
is
behind me.
Soon media and more police descended on the 900 block of Beachcomber in Clear Lake, Texas, southeast of Houston.
Killed her children.
The children's father, Rusty Yates, rushed home. Del Bosque remembers his brief conversation with the woman whose actions would dominate headlines.
She was on the couch, sitting on the couch, and I believe that.
Pop up time with Rubber. Andrea Yates was not traditionally active in a standard local church, but she and her husband were deeply involved with the independent fire and brimstone teachings of itinerant Christian preacher Michael Warrenecki. Oh my God, I'd forgotten about this. Damn you. God, Cindy, how did you remember this? Whose organization had been described by followers and investigators as a cult. I forgot that Warrenecki was involved.
That officer had her in handcuffs, and she was just sitting on the couch, just kind of glaring at the wall, real like in a gaze, or hey, just like a little zombie, just had no clue what she did, because she had no tears or anything like that. We made small talk. She had a bus out back, and I asked her, I go, well, I really didn't ask her. I go, man, there's a bus out back. And she said, yeah, we used to live in it.
Andrea and Rusty, a NASA engineer, were married in 1993. Children soon followed. They wanted a big family. Rusty shared many home videos like these online as a memorial to his children. The family moved from the converted bus to this modest home after Luke was born. Andrea homeschooled them. Her mental state was deteriorating. In 1999, she had a mental breakdown, overdosed, and was hospitalized. The first of 4.
So obviously you heard that right there. She had a mental breakdown, was overdosed, and was hospitalized. So she was in treatment. Yes, she drowned them because she had to save them.
4 hospitalizations in 2 years. One doctor advised the first of 4 hospitalizations in 2 years.
2 years.
One doctor advised against having more children. Then Mary came in late 2000.
I said, is anyone hurt? And she said, yes. And I said, who?
And she said the children.
Rusty quickly faced the cameras. A day after he lost all of his children, he clutched a family photo and voiced his support for Andrea.
She loved those kids.
Read up as much as I possibly could about women's mental health.
George Parham had been hired as her attorney hours earlier, a referral from a lawyer who knew her family.
I just knew what it was about, so I hesitated to call him back. In the back of my mind, knowing that this would be a mind-changing event in my legal life and personal life. But I did, and I was right. And the next morning at 7:30, Andrea's mother, her two brothers, came into my office, hired me, and 20 years later, here we are talking about her.
Parham was not only her attorney, but a staunch advocate, and now like family.
She's like my daughter. Yep.
He educated himself about women's mental health and postpartum depression.
And just so you are aware and everybody aware, George is still very much a part of Andrea's life. He never left her side. He still sees her. Okay? He has never left her. This lawyer is, George Parham is a beautiful soul. You know, you think of him being a criminal defense lawyer and he's a wonderful man.
And went on the interview circuit.
It was important for me to try to level the playing field.
He remembers his first interaction with Rusty. It was at the Harris County Jail. Parham met Andrea that same day.
The depths of her illness.
It was, Cindy, it was.
Overwhelming to me. I remember so well looking and at her, and she had no pupils in her eyes. She didn't know why she needed a lawyer. She believed that Satan lived within her, and she, for the benefit of mankind, wanted to be executed so that the ruler,
Quit coughing.
as it is so stated in the Bible, and realistically it's the governor of Texas, right, could execute Satan. And therefore she would be able to save the world from Satan.
In interviews with police, Andrea said she killed her children because she was not a good mother. She told a county psychiatrist she wanted to save them from Satan.
Why would Satan want you to do something that saves the children? Scared. Because the act would condemn you. Satan was interested in you and the children.
There's no question but that, Andrea's world at that time was her psychotic state. And when you're in a depths of psychosis, you make decisions based on that world that may otherwise not be an appropriate call.
A jury would eventually hear the case. Was Andrea Yates a murderer or just a very ill woman?
Either she knew right from wrong or she did not. And that's what we accomplished in the first trial, what we tried to do in the second trial.
Andrea Yates was unlike any defendant accused of such horrific crimes. She was first in her high school class, the captain of the swim team. She was a nurse, a mother. 8 days after their deaths, the Yates children were buried, 5 little coffins, a stunning sight.
With 5 hearses parked outside, mourners filled the Clear Lake Church of Christ to hear Rusty Yates talk about his children. Flowers draped the white caskets holding the bodies of Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and baby Mary. Rusty described in great detail each child's personality and leaned on his strong faith to help him through. He did not mention his wife, Andrea Yates, who remained in jail on 24-hour suicide watch. Legal strategies were already being.
And just so y'all are aware, Texas has the same as California. It's on the defense. It says here, Texas law only asks defendant know if the defendant knew if the act was wrong. Massachusetts law asks the same, but also considers whether the defendant had the impulse control or capacity to conform to law. Burden of proof. In Texas, insanity is an affirmative defense, meaning the defense must prove it by a preponderance of evidence. In Massachusetts, once the issue of criminal responsibility is raised, the prosecution bears the burden of proving it beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's the difference between preponderance of evidence and reasonable doubt.
Informed.
I think the jury, looking at Andrea, can't imagine how a sane mother would do what Andrea did. And so I think going in, there was a level basis for insanity.
Andrea had attempted suicide twice, was admitted to psychiatric hospitals, and treated for postpartum depression and psychosis before the drownings. Early on, her attorney, George Parnham, revealed he was considering an insanity defense. A judge issued a gag order. There were questions about whether the state would seek the death penalty. The following February, her case went to trial.
Our strategy basically was to focus the jury's attention on the law, both the common sense definitions and how they correlated with the scientific definitions, and to make it a case that was simply, did she know right from wrong?
That was all the state had to prove. Experts agreed that Andrea, with a history of mental illness, suffered from postpartum depression and schizophrenia, but defense and prosecution witnesses disagreed about how severe her illness was or whether it kept her from knowing right from wrong.
We, the jury,
in March, she was convicted. The state wanted death. The jury sentenced her to life in prison. After the verdict, her family said Rusty shared some responsibility. She had little help at home and was in a downward spiral, they said. Testimony revealed Andrea's doctor discontinued the strong antipsychotic medication Haldol just 16 days before she killed her children.
Obviously very disappointed.
Rusty always said he worked hard to get his wife the medical help she needed. He was never charged. He filed for divorce in 2004.
We all stand behind Andrea.
And you notice the difference is this man, Rusty, noticed things. He spoke up. He said things. He tried to get her help.
And I'm Tom Cook.
In 2005, more than 2 years into Andrea's life sentence, a bombshell.
Said to be shocked but happy today when she heard that her conviction had been overturned.
We took it all the way up.
An appeals court overturned Andrea's capital murder convictions and ordered a new trial. Joe Omby, now retired and living in Kentucky, was the lead prosecutor.
Park Dietz was our expert on the first case, and he was very well known nationally. And he testified that one of the law and order programs had run a program which basically paralleled the situation we were in. And we also had a tidbit of information which we was involved in a case that Andrea Yates habitually watched Law and Order. Park Dietz testified that there had been an episode that kind of paralleled the events that we were trying, and that turned out not to be correct. It was a surprise to me when the testimony came, surprising for one reason, because I had not asked the question and did not expect it to be part of either the direct or the cross-examination. Turned out to be false. Sometime later, during the appeal, the case was overturned, because of the incorrect statement.
Thank goodness Dr. Dietz did what he did.
Dietz said he made a mistake, confusing two different Law and Order episodes, and the appeals court also found he did not, quote, intentionally lie. The next year, Andrea entered a not guilty by reason of insanity plea. Judge Belinda Hill granted her a $200,000 bond, but only if she checked herself into Rusk State Hospital in East Texas. George Parnham took a quick detour to his law partner, Wendell Odom's ranch.
I get Andrea and she goes to the fence and the cows are there, right? Wendell's cows. And she pats one on the head. And we get back in the car and I take her to Rusk. A lot of people don't know that until now.
In June 2006, Andrea was back in Houston for a second trial. Now 42, she often stared blankly during testimony. Her family was always in attendance. Rusty, now her ex-husband, was there too. A month later, and after 13 hours of deliberations, a jury found that Andrea was insane when she drowned her children and acquitted her of capital murder.
Mental health, I think, has been addressed. That's so important.
Andrea was ordered to a state mental hospital in Kerrville on the edge of the Texas Hill Country, has been home for more than a decade.
She's where she wants to be. She's where she needs to be. And, I mean, hypothetically, where would she go? What would she do?
Here at Kerrville State Hospital, Andrea attends group therapy and one-on-one counseling. She has a job. There are no bars or barbed wire. A green line shows patients the boundaries. Parnham.
Okay, and I want to make sure everybody understands that if by any chance Lindsay Clancy ended up going to a mental facility, she's in a wheelchair. She's not going to be walking the grounds. She's not going to be, I probably have a very unpopular opinion of this. I think she needs to be in a mental facility. I really do. Putting her in a prison, I just don't know that she's going to be able to get the help that I really think she needs.
Still talks to her on the phone and sometimes visits. In not guilty by reason of insanity, the court has jurisdiction for as long as her sentence would have been. In Andrea's case, that's the rest of her life. She comes up for review every year. Parnham says she has waived it every single time.
I think
so. Right there, it tells you she knows she did wrong. She knows. She knows she fucked up. Period. She knows.
I think she's afraid and concerned about being in a community. Certainly her notoriety and the issues that she brings will cause people to have harshness toward her.
He says she's gotten death threats. Even 20 years later, they've never talked about that day.
Why go there? There's no reason for that.
At 80 years old, George Parnham is still practicing law.
This is a case that will always be in my front.
I was going to say, I didn't know if y'all were aware, but he is 84 years old. Yes, so far from the knowledge I know, but like I said, we have to watch the trial. We have to see everything. I need to see the evidence. I need to know more. I mean, what little bit of what I have heard, I have my own feelings. I have my own emotions. So I wouldn't have been a person for a juror on this trial. I would not be one because I'm already biased from my knowledge, my own experience of somebody with postpartum psychosis.
On the lobe.
He has supported law.
This is a case that will always be in my frontal lobe.
He has supported the Yates Children Memorial Fund to educate people on women's mental health. Andrea's case has brought awareness to mental illness.
This is such a major part of my legal existence. Not only her case, but the aftermath and cases like hers. And I just want juries to understand the mindset, right? That's critical.
Rusty Yates did not respond to our request for an interview. He still lives in the Houston area. He has one child from a second marriage and is now divorced. Andrea turned 57 in July 2021. She has spent almost a third of her life institutionalized. George Parnham says that she is happy. If they had survived, all of the couple's children would have been in their 20s.
Parnham still visits the children's graves and often gets asked what he hopes for Andrea. His answer is simple: whatever makes her comfortable. 20 years later, he remembers her first words to him.
She leaned forward. And she said, whispered something, and I had to lean forward to hear what she said. And she said, please don't leave me alone.
We, the jury, find
And
that
that's-
Andrea P. Yates
and I have it.
not guilty by reason of insanity.
And he hasn't. He hasn't. While today's stream started a little bit off, I do appreciate every one of you being here. So in closing, I want to tell y'all that's going to wrap up today's stream, but I want to leave y'all with something heavy to think about it. Okay. We just spent hours looking at the Coronado story and comparing it directly to the Clancy situation. On the surface, details look different. The names change, locations change, background change. When you strip away all the noise, the core reality is exactly the same. And we have to include Andrea Yates in this conversation. Across all three cases, Yates drowning her 5 children in Texas, Carol Cornado taking her 3 daughters' lives in California, and this current trial unfolding around Lindsay Clancy, we see similar, devastating patterns. But it's still murder. It's still murder. Taking a life is the absolute line. You cannot justify it. You cannot excuse it. You can't look the other way. In all these cases, actions have massive, heartbreaking consequences. These children's lost their lives. Families are shattered. And we have justice. Well, they're demanding legal accountability. And there's no escaping that reality. And there shouldn't be. But the question we need to ask is, how do we fix it for the future? How are we going to fix this for the future? Punishing the crime after it happens, it's necessary. But it means we already failed to prevent the tragedy. To fix this, we have to look at the medical, maternal support systems that keep failing these mothers before they reach a psychotic breaking point. There needs to be better, faster screening for postpartum mental health crises, deeper education on the warning signs, and more people that listen when a mom says something is wrong. We have to care enough to intervene early before mental health crisis spirals into something of a crime scene. Which is exactly what has happened in all these cases. They all have turned into a crime scene. And I just want you to know that these are facts. They're not pretty. Not all these facts are pretty. But they happen. They're real. This is real life. There are real life consequences. And whatever that may be, we'll see Lindsay Clancy's future. Tomorrow, we will be back with day 2 of the Lindsay Clancy trial. Again, thank you all for being here. And I apologize for my stream getting off to a rough start. I was so not prepared. I had my stuff kind of set up and lined out. I did kind of write out my scripts of what I wanted to say for conclusion. My opening was just off the rails because I was so unprepared. I was in the kitchen making smothered pork chops. You know, it's what a housewife does is you cook. Got some Brussels sprouts going. I need to go make some sauteed rice. Well, not rice. It's actually cauliflower. But that way Hector has a good home-cooked meal to come home to. So I want to thank you all.
You is smart. You is kind. You is important.
And thank you always for hanging out with me. This has been a rough stream. It's not an easy subject. Absolutely. It's not an easy subject to cover. And not many are willing to touch it. Education awareness. Facts and compassion. I'll always try and be compassion. We have to put a little comedy in the chaos, because if I didn't have comedy in the chaos, we'd be absolutely crazy in here. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. And until tomorrow, we will be picking up Lindsay Clancy tomorrow. I have it set. I don't even know what time I have it set for, but I may start it early just because I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. And but turn all your notifications to all. And till next time, peace. Rubber out. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.